The United States has banned Cuba from receiving Russian oil. The U.S. Department of the Treasury has placed Cuba on a list of countries prohibited from engaging in transactions involving Russian oil and petroleum products. This measure was taken despite at least 2 tankers already en route to Cuba. The Treasury updated its sanctions list, explicitly prohibiting Cuba from participating in any transactions involving Russian crude oil and refined petroleum products. This action directly targets 2 key tankers currently sailing in the Atlantic. The Syda-Tala Kolodkin, owned by Russia, state-run Sovcomflot, is carrying 730,000 barrels of crude oil and was scheduled to arrive on the 23rd of March. The Syda-Lise Marai, flying the Hong Kong flag, is carrying approximately 200,000 barrels of diesel and has recently adopted covert navigation tactics in the Caribbean, including turning off its signal. If these 2 tankers are unable to dock next week, Cuba's SAS national power grid could collapse entirely, leaving even hospitals and basic communications without support. According to NBC and CNBC, 2 U.S. Coast Guard patrol vessels have been deployed to waters northeast of Cuba. If Trump issues the order, the U.S. could impose quarantine-style interception measures, stopping and forcing Russian tankers to turn back. The United States has intensified energy sanctions on Cuba, banning the delivery of Russian oil and adding Cuba to the list of countries prohibited from receiving Russian crude. The U.S. has warned that any tanker, insurance company, or shipping intermediary violating the ban will face severe penalties, including exclusion from the US dollar clearing system and the seizure of assets in the United States. Trump stated clearly, "We will not allow Russian oil to flow to a hostile, collapsing regime. If that ship docks, the companies involved will never do business in the United States again." U.S. officials confirmed that the Cuban government rejected a request from the U.S. Embassy in Havana to import diesel for running generators. Trump is imposing a strict oil blockade on Cuba, pushing the country into a severe energy crisis and widespread blackouts. Cuba's move is seen as a direct reciprocal response to US blockade policies. The US Embassy reportedly still has about 1 month of diesel reserves, so staff reduction plans will not be implemented immediately. Cuba is currently accelerating the deployment of 5,000 small-scale photovoltaic systems donated by China. Of these, 2,600 systems have been designated as top strategic priority, specifically allocated to equip primary healthcare and public service nodes across 168 municipalities nationwide. Each system has a 260 kilowatt capacity and includes solar panels, inverters, and battery storage units. On the 20th of March, Cuban President Miguel de Sacanel met in Havana with several left-wing members of the European Parliament. These lawmakers brought more than 20 tons of emergency humanitarian aid, including medicines, food, and crucial solar panel equipment to cope with large-scale power outages. The core topic of the meeting was opposition to Trump's oil blockade. EU lawmakers publicly condemned the United States for creating a humanitarian crisis by cutting off fuel supplies. Canel acknowledged that due to US interception and tariff threats, Cuba has not received any bulk crude oil shipments for 3 consecutive months. At present, the island is relying only on natural gas and a very limited amount of solar energy to maintain basic living conditions. Cuba has refused to remove President Díaz-Canel as part of negotiations with the United States. Cuban Deputy Foreign Minister Carlos Fernández de Cosio stated that Cuba's political system is not negotiable, and the president's term or any official position will never be used as bargaining chips in talks with the U.S. Previously, Trump proposed an economic deal during bilateral negotiations, with the condition that Díaz-Canel step down. He currently has 2 years remaining in his presidential term and 5 years remaining as party leader. The U.S. proposal also included not pursuing legal action against members of the Fidel and Rayo Castro families.